Five-star wide receiver Micah Hudson has committed to play in the Scarlet and Black. What kind of impact could Micah Hudson have for the Red Raiders, not only on the field, but in the recruiting cycles as well? Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long. We're keeping you up to date with the latest game previews, film breakdowns, recruiting news, as well as breaking news, rumors, and so much more. Join the most interactive Texas Tech community here on YouTube and hit that subscribe button because, well, I know that 67% of y'all that watch these videos, y'all aren't subscribed. So let's change that and help us get to our 10K goal by the end of the season. And hey, I promise you won't regret it. You're going to love this part of Red Raider Nation. And speaking of Red Raider Nation, I want to hear from you guys. Give me your one word to describe Joey McGuire and crew landing the commitment of the first five-star player in Texas Tech program history in Lake Belton wide receiver Micah Hudson. Just one word. Let me know down in the comments below. Now, in today's video, we'll obviously discuss Micah Hudson, but we'll also look at the latest recruiting ranks. Where's Texas Tech at after the commitment of landing the first five-star in program history? We'll look at rivals. We'll look at 24/7 as well as On3 to see where the Texas Tech class of 2024 ranks amongst the rest of the new Big 12 and, well, who they've got as blue chip recruits in this recruiting cycle for the Red Raiders. All right, let's jump right into it because we've got updated rankings now for the class of 2024 for Texas Tech, and they got them at the bottom of the screen right there. 24/7 has Texas Tech 23rd. Rivals does as well with On3 at 21st overall. Now, on all three sites, Texas Tech has the highest ranked new Big 12 recruiting class in 2024. That's a big deal, right? We know that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12. Who's going to be that new quote-unquote juggernaut potentially in the new Big 12? Now, I think it's safe to say that Colorado's probably going to be up there, especially with Coach Prime out in Boulder. But who else really goes in there and makes an impact at the highest level when it comes to recruiting? Texas Tech is making a really convincing argument that it could be them, right? You go out, you land Micah Hudson, your first five-star recruit in program history. It doesn't matter what position, right? We're talking about a top 10 overall player. A guy that, if you listen to the previous videos here on the channel, I think he's a generational type receiver in terms of what he can do. He's the kind of guy where I watch him, and I can't help but think of two former Ohio State wide receivers and guys that went in the first rounds of the past two NFL drafts, in Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson, right? Two pretty good comps. That's the kind of guy he reminds me of, and now he's elevated that Texas Tech recruiting class into the top 25, and he's a guy that I think could create a potential domino effect, something that we'll talk about later on in the video. Now, if you are excited about Texas Tech football and the way that they're handling business on the recruiting trail, shout out to James Blanchard, Brian Nance. I mean, I'm trying to remember everybody's name. There's so many guys involved in this. Those are the two that really stand out. Like the video down below. All right, let's jump into the blue chip commitments in the class of 2024. And for those that don't know what a blue chip recruit is, it's basically, to put it simply, a four-star or a five-star recruit, right? That's really what it comes down to. And Texas Tech has 5 of those according to 24/7 and Rivals. If you go to On3, technically 7, right? But the 5 guys consensus among the 3 sites are really guys that I think could really have an impact for Texas Tech at a really high level. And right there, they're at the bottom of your screen going across right now. You've obviously got Micah Hudson. You've got Chetta as well. You've got Will, you've got Ellis, and then you've got Holton, right? Like, you look at that, and the thing that stands out to me about these blue chip recruits that Texas Tech has in the class of 2024, I'm looking at it this way. You potentially have your future QB1 in Will Hammond. He's got a lot of hype. He's going to have to beat out Baron Morton, Jake Strong as well. Other guys are in the mix, right? But Will Hammond has the potential to be your QB1 for years out in the 806, right? You think about it. Micah Hudson, wide receiver 1. That one's pretty easy. You could have your 2 potentially starting tackles in this class in Ellis Davis and then Holton Hendricks as well, right? Like you could have that potentially if you are Texas Tech. Oh, and not to mention you got Chetta, who is one of those guys who could be really the guy when it comes to your edge rush for years to come out in the 806, and the guy that I think could be a potential impact guy on the edge as a true freshman for the Red Raiders next season, right? So when you look at all of this, it's not too bad for Texas Tech, right? Like they're in a really good position. And I think, again, we'll talk about it here in just a second. This could create a domino effect for high-end talent because now they're seeing guys in multiples, right? Not just the one-offs, right? Like, oh, he has ties to Texas Tech. That's why he's going there. No, this is because of the foundation that Texas Tech is building within that recruiting system that they have going. That's more like an NFL type system where James Blanchard's basically the GM. He goes out to find the players. You got Brian Nance, the director of scouting, right? Like you got 2 really good guys that are keen on finding talent early and often and prioritizing it before other schools really even have the chance to hop in. So you look at that, and that's really what happened with Micah Hudson, right? And this crew, as well as, Will Hammond, right? Will Hammond was not ranked when Texas Tech offered him a scholarship. And then a couple weeks later, he jumped up to a high 3-star, right? Like there's levels to this, and Texas Tech is doing a phenomenal job at that. And really just a great job in terms of getting the recruiting lined up for the future. And you can get yourself lined up for the future in terms of wearing your favorite Texas Tech gear over at homefieldapparel.com. Get 15% off of your order of your new favorite Texas Tech shirt over on homefieldapparel.com when you use the code BACK212. Again, say 15% over on Home Field Apparel when you use the promo code BACK212. Go get yourself your new favorite Texas Tech shirt today. All right. Domino effect incoming. This is probably what a lot of y'all are waiting for. And this was my first instinct outside of just sheer excitement when it came to Micah Hudson committing. This is going to create a domino effect. First and foremost, let's lay this foundation when it comes to Micah Hudson. He is the top recruit in Texas Tech program history, right, with his commitment. Maybe even more importantly, though, it proves to Texas Tech that their process of recruiting is working at a high level. And what do I mean by that? I think a lot of y'all, if y'all are on Twitter, y'all see the relationships, right? They tweet that out. The staff discusses it ad nauseum on Twitter, right? That's very real right now. Micah Hudson has said so himself that this is one of those things for him where he felt like he was home. He felt like Texas Tech really, truly cared about him and wasn't just going after him because he's an elite level talent, right? Obviously, that's part of it. Let's not say that it's not. We'd be lying if it wasn't, right? Right? They're not going to go after me when it comes to playing wide receiver, right? Obviously, you have to be talented, but it's building genuine relationships where they care about you outside of just the game of football. And Texas Tech is doing a phenomenal job at that. Micah Hudson's not the only one that's brought it up. Multiple recruits have brought it up as well. So I think that that's something that feels right for Texas Tech and something now they can go into a house of a high-level recruit, high 4-star, high 5-star, and say, hey, we've had guys come out here before. They've been successful. Look at what we can do. We're here to care about you, not only as a football player, but more importantly, as a man and a person, right? And that is working tremendously well for Texas Tech on the recruiting trail. A huge shout out to James Blanchard, Brian Nance, Joey McGuire, Zach Kitley, everybody involved in the recruiting for Texas Tech. It has been phenomenal, leaps and bounds of what we saw just a few years back, really even with Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Wells. This is in a whole different stratosphere for Texas Tech, and it looks like they have the potential to land a top 25 class in just year number 2 of Joey McGuire. All right, before we get out of here, just one more reminder, like the video if you're excited about what Joey McGuire and crew, James Blanchard, Brian Nance, all those guys are doing when it comes to Texas Tech recruiting. So again, like the video, and then one more time, your one word to describe Joey McGuire and crew landing the commitment of the highest rated recruit in program history in Lake Belton wide receiver, in 5-star wide receiver, Micah Hudson. Truly a historic day yesterday for Texas Tech when this announcement went out on September 11th, Monday. Truly an historic commitment for the Red Raiders, and one that I think could potentially have a domino effect for years to come. I'm RC Maxfield, reminding you one more time, if you haven't already, join the fastest growing Texas Tech community and most engaging Texas Tech community here on YouTube. And the best part about it, it's 100% free. All you have to do to join is hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.